In the Super Metroid any% speedrun, X Factors are used to fight Ridley as it's the fastest way to do so. If you stumbled across this video in the wild somehow, this is an X Factor. It uses a power bomb and is the highest single action damage you can shoot. The theory as to why these are used on Ridley should be its own video, but that's a huge explanation that I'm not equipped to lecture on yet. Basically all you need to know is that X Factors are used and they're your best damage source for Ridley. 5 are used in the fight, so the strat gets the name 5X. The more X Factors that connect, the faster the fight ends up being. Because of this, some people like to joke around that you should do 10x instead of 5x, which is actually what the task does, so in theory, it's faster. You will never see a human hit 10 X Factors in a run that saves time. I promise you there's a 0% chance it will ever happen. First of all, let's go over the scenario where the current route doesn't change at all, but you pick up an extra power bomb pack to get the ammo you need to do 10x. That will be done this way, which takes around 10 seconds. We're in theory world, so I'm going to be assuming best case scenario for all RNG rolls. Technically, you do get to manipulate the patterns of these side hoppers, but it's kind of tough to do so. And you need to manipulate both the first hopper and the second hopper. Usually most people just manipulate the first hopper and don't really care what the second one does. But again, I'm assuming best case scenario for everything, so I'll assume these two do the correct hops every time. First one jumping high, second one jumping low. Then you have to kill this last hopper with a blue suit so he doesn't hit you on the way into the power bomb or on the way out. Overall, this detour is a little under 11 seconds long, but I'll say you can push an extra second of movement out of it to make it 10 seconds flat. The only other power bomb pack that isn't on the other side of the planet is this one in Red Brinstar, which takes an additional 22 seconds to grab. Clearly, 22 is more than 10, so you'd rather grab the ones in Lower Norfair. Our target time to save is 10 seconds just to get back the time invested to grab the extra power bomb pack. Mathematically, this works out for us in 10x's favor. Each X Factor saves roughly 2 seconds per additional full connection. But we want to save time, not just match what we already have, and the time save will come through menuing. In a standard fight after X Factors are used, Ice Spazer is menued on for extra damage, and menued off at the end of the fight for easier farming and access to X Factors again in Meridia. Each menu loses 3 seconds, so skipping 2 menus would save 6 seconds total, theoretically. Here's what the fight looks like in practice. In the top right, you'll see the room time counted in seconds, followed by frames. High 46 exit. Pretty cool, but with a 5x, the current fastest is a high 54, meaning a net loss of 2 seconds. So why couldn't I maximize the fight to theory? The first issue is that X Factors cause lag, which is unavoidable, but it is possible to mitigate it a bit by tanking damage like I do here. When Samus is flashing from damage, the game only draws her every other frame, which makes the game lag less. It's an absolutely horrible trade to do, however, as tanking 40 health for around 10 frames is awful when you compare it to all the other strats you can trade health for. I'm just doing it here because getting all the X Factor particles to connect is very difficult while dodging Ridley, and most likely one of them will hit his tail if you dodge him. Regardless, there's around a second of lag from the extra X Factors, which makes the net possible time save go from 6 seconds to 5. The other issue is that Ridley is a cycle-based fight, and the amount of damage you put in doesn't matter if the cycles don't line up. In fact, because the cycles were so misaligned here, I did a technical overkill, having an extra super missile to fire. The cycle on the optimal 5x lines up so well that it saves quite a bit. An optimal lineup physically can never happen on 10x. This is because you need to maneuver to make your X Factor particles connect, so you can never sit on the floor like you can in the 5x fight and shoot upward. If you really want to push it to the limit, you need to kill him low to the floor and have him re-lunge after flying back up. Originally, I wasn't going to try to get tape for this as it's kind of tough, but I did it just for you. This is what it would look like, which saves a net 2 seconds overall. What a joyful occasion for the Twitch chatters. The go for 10x joke still works! Except it doesn't. I only used 9 X Factors here. Ridley died before the 10th one was necessary. This is the main reason 10x will never be optimal, because it's a worse version of 9x. Those with elite Metroid knowledge should say 9x when they want to make the joke from now on. And this makes sense if you think about the damage calculations for a bit, as both missiles and X Factors take the same amount of time to deal equivalent damage to each other. 2 seconds. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's for a general Ridley lecture. If you tell someone to go for 10x, you are actively telling them to fail 9x. You might be wondering why the task would do 10x if it's theoretically the same as 9x. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see that that route did not have 12 missiles to fire into Ridley, meaning that 10x was its only option. There's also this fight, which changes the timing on where the cycle lines up to get a faster grab, but it ends up being a second slower than the other fight. Even if you could land optimal 9x every time, it still probably wouldn't be worth it. I entered the fight with 242 health and killed Ridley with 12 of my health remaining. You would rarely have enough health entering Ridley's room to even attempt this. Often you're entering the room in the high hundreds to low 200s. And again, if you want to avoid tanking damage during the fight, you reintroduce enough lag that you probably will only save a net of 1 second. But let's say you do enter with a health surplus, it still would not be worth it. You want to be killing Ridley with at least 100 of your health remaining, ideally in the 120 to 160 range, so that way you can farm drops at the end of the fight for ammo refills, as well as having enough health to make it out of Lower Norfair alive, which requires at least 100. I ended the fight in health bomb, meaning I don't get any ammo refill as all the drops are now locked into being health. In Theory World, where you don't take any unnecessary damage, sure, 9x will be optimal by a little bit as you save time and finish the fight with extra normal missiles. Leaving Theory World, 9x is awful to go for. It requires you to get a perfect Ridley pattern. If at any point you miss a luck roll, the fight breaks down and it becomes impossible to save time. Your run's probably over. The pattern you need to hit is a 75% lunge into a 75% lunge into a 50% lunge, another 50% lunge, and a final 50% lunge for your run to not be dead on the spot. That's around a 7% chance to hit, which is completely unreasonable for a 2-second time save. That doesn't even include landing the super missile farm, which would lower your parlay down to 5%. If additional X factors are so bad, then why would the task go for them? Because it's a task and it can manipulate RNG. But beyond that reason, it gets to route out picking up Spazer, saving roughly 22 seconds. This is an option for the task, as it does this nonsense to get into the plasma room, which is normally blocked off. If you specifically want to go for this, have fun. So we need Spazer for the damage on Mother Brain. Without it, it would take an additional 40 shots to kill Mother Brain, and at a rate of 1 shot per second, not having Spazer loses a net 18 seconds. You might think X factors are an option on Mother Brain, but getting them all to connect at a fast rate is impossible. You will always have a particle that's trailing behind, on top of needing to menu ice off and on because 10 X factors fully connecting on Mother Brain does not kill. But what if you went further beyond and did 15x? If you recall, picking up the red tower power bombs is also a 22-second detour, equivalent to the time needed to get Spazer. This also doesn't work, as missing a single particle at any point loses 2 seconds. But let's say we're in Theory World and you hit all the particles. It's still slower than the Ice Spazer fight due to the trailing particle. Not only that, but when the red beam phase begins, Mother Brain brings her head back, and it becomes pretty much impossible to land all of the particles due to the angles being blocked by her body. The only other routing change where 9x could save time is delaying the Ice Beam pickup until Speed Booster is grabbed. And sure, this does save a little bit, but most of your time gained is immediately lost from the additional menu off of Ice before Meridia. But overall, it saves a little under a second. What I want you to take away from this video is that as fancy as 10x sounds, it's just bad, and inferior to 9x, which is too volatile for runs. What's scary is that if it were actually faster by a wide margin, at some point it would have to be worth going for the 5% roll. With the game's luck already being highly volatile, having a point with such a low success rate would make the speedrun miserable to play. Instead, the 5% roll remains dedicated to the 54 Ridley 5x fight, and not hitting on that still results in a playable run. Thanks for listening to me yapping about Ridley. I'll try to continue to do theory videos until they get quality crept. This one already has significantly more effort put in than the last one, and I hope that shows a bit, like I'm doing voiceovers and stuff. Essentially, I'm using these videos as a training ground for me to actually make stuff, as for the past year, I wasn't really outputting anything, just learning how to do stuff, so I need to start putting stuff out there again. I just finished editing and it was miserable. I'm not gonna go this hard in the edit again unless y'all tell me that you really like the video, okay? You can probably see me improving and learning how to do stuff in real time throughout the video. If you rewatch it, the early parts are not gonna be as good as the later parts. I got too scared that I need to make stuff of high quality, and that's making me not make anything. So now I'm just gonna make stuff and see what happens. Bye bye.